Good morning and welcome to Lattes and Leaders with Dr. Brad Johnson, best-selling author and accomplished public speaker specializing in education and educational leadership. I am your co-host, Jeremy Johnson, organizational psychology consultant specializing in career coaching, training, and development. Meet us here each week to discuss topics in education and leadership and meet with some of the top education talent and thought partners from across the globe. So grab your latte, sit back, and enjoy a relaxed conversation that will leave you informed and encouraged.
Welcome to Lattes and Leaders. We have a very special guest today from Gwinnett County School System in Georgia. Her name is Rebecca Carlisle, and I'm so excited to have you on today and to talk with you. So welcome to Lattes and Leaders.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
Oh, we're excited to have you. So if you want to take just a minute, kind of share a little bit about your journey to where you are now and kind of what you're doing in your role in Gwinnett County now.
Yes, thank you. So I am a native Gwinnetian. I grew up in Grayson and only left to go to college and then come back. My husband's a native too. He grew up in Lilburn and went to Parkview. But I started out teaching at a middle school in the district and then taught at a high school in the district. And in 2019, I was the district teacher of the year. And then because of COVID, we had kind of a pause on the state process. So I was top 10 for the state teacher of the year. Officially, I guess the year is 2022. But in that year, our top 10 group worked on the teacher burnout report, the Georgia Teacher Burnout Report, which if anyone hasn't read that, it's really insightful around the state and kind of what leaders can do to support their teachers and leaders in their school buildings. But once that came out, I did a couple of speaking opportunities at different parts of the state, and some of our district leaders were in those audiences. And so one thing kind of led to the other. And I first got my position as Assistant Director of Recruitment and Retention in 2022, that next school year, and was tasked with trying to find a retention strategy or framework. And so I just spent a lot of time researching outside of Gwinnett, outside of education, really, and also in Gwinnett, did a lot of focus groups and surveys and think tanks, and really landed on the employee experience framework, which is very corporate-y, and bringing something corporate-y into education world can be a little tricky sometimes, but we really worked, myself, I say we, I'm really a team of one right now, but myself and my executive director who is, and my chief who are also incredibly encouraging and empowering, helped just really flesh out the framework that we use now. And so as of November 1st of 2024, I was blessed with to be the first ever director of employee experience in Gwinnett County Public Schools. And there's really not that many of us. Thank you. There's really not that many of us in education in general. I think there's two others in the Metro District, various positionings and titles around the title of employee experience. So it's super exciting and kind of new territory, but has already proven to be effective in retaining our teachers and leaders. And really, it's about school culture. You can't make everyone happy all the time, because what makes me happy is different than what makes you happy, Dr. Johnson. And also what makes me happy on a Monday is different than what makes me happy on a Tuesday sometimes. So, it's really just about that culture piece and how we can help everyone work through their strengths. And even when things are hard and challenging, making sure that everyone is treated and feels like they're a professional, even through those challenging times. So that's really what the nutshell of employee experience is.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's so important. A lot of times when I, speak to districts, I share that the importance of HR. And in education, I don't think we maximize the potential. We look at it for the hiring, for, the daily minutia of an HR, whether it be, looking at payroll or insurance, different things. But it really should be, like you said, about the employee experience. And because we know the research is very clear that when teachers and staff, not just teachers, even administrators, like we were talking about earlier, when they feel like they're valued in their role and are able to really lead in their role, that they are 6 times more engaged. And that is a huge number. And the impact on how that can influence culture positively is amazing, because when you think of every person, if they're 6 times more engaged in their role with all the different people in their roles, I mean, that really does create a more powerful culture for the whole school. So I love that that's your focus, and that's something that I think a lot more school districts around the country, maybe need to think about and shift a little bit more towards, is looking at that teacher and staff there, and the leaders as well, but that employee experience.
Absolutely. And research with your 6 time more engagement, I think our research shows that um, but that if we focus on the employee experience, then that also impacts the customer experience, which impacts the customer outcomes, which in education world, it impacts and increases the student experience and ultimately those student outcomes. And we have so much data to support that in real time. It's not just theoretical, like we've seen it actually happen. And not just in our areas of our district where, the kids have a lot of support at home, or they come from resources. Like I've seen it work in the hardest, most challenging areas of our district, where if there's a leader who understands culture and understands employee experience, then that directly impacts the teachers feeling empowered and excited and innovative to be able to tackle those challenges and support their students in a way where those students are achieving at or above their peers in those areas that they do have lots of resources. So we've seen it in action show itself to be true, that if we focus on the employee experience, that automatically supports the increase of the student experience and ultimately student achievement.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I really press all the time is curriculum's important and technology is important, but they're not the most important piece in the classroom. That classroom teacher, it has the most impact on student learning in the classroom. And so for them to feel positive, to bring that energy, to feel valued, to feel appreciated, they're going to create a learning environment like no other. And if they don't feel that way, if they feel disconnected and that they're not appreciated, it doesn't matter how much technology or the best curriculum you can buy. They're not going to create that type of learning culture that they will when they do feel valued and appreciated.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought that up. That's something that I lean into a lot. So, going back to our employee experience framework, there's 5 main cultural components. And so we call them our 5 core workplace practices, and they're onboarding, induction, feedback and professional development, leadership development, employee voice, and belonging well-being. But most of the schools, when we meet with a principal and ask them which one of those 5 things do you want to lean into to support your local school plan for improvement, most of the principals really lean into that leadership development piece, because it is kind of a lever that you can pull that would impact belonging, well-being, employee voice, feedback, professional development, all those others. And when we do that, we really lean into that collective teacher efficacy space, which is that research around it's the teacher that is the most powerful tool in increasing student achievement within a school year statistically. And that really now too, the more recent research comes from that teacher collective advocacy, that it's not just the individual teacher, it is the teacher teams, right? And so when we meet with teacher teams, and that's all in that John Hattie research, which I just am obsessed with him and all his research. So when we meet with our teacher teams in the employee experience schools that we're partnering with, we really lean into that to help them understand the value and importance of their collaboration and the time that they spend in that. And then working to help them understand what it's like to work with adults, how to lead adults, because that can be hard sometimes, and also how to make those collaborative times meaningful and productive and effective and efficient, so that they are able to experience and see that student achievement increase within that school year. So that is a huge part of the employee experience framework in action at the schools.
Mm, I love it. Yeah, very powerful. Like I said, it's so needed. A lot of times we've been hesitant in the past to look at business models because we're like, well, we're education, we're different. But we're still humans, we're still adults, we're still working. So there really is a lot of similarities and correlations between the two that we kind of have left a lack of focus on, I guess is the best way to put it. But there's such a critical piece to, to the classroom, to the school culture, and ultimately the student success. Because again, we can't deny the importance of, if the teacher is in the classroom and feels valued and is bringing that energy, they're going to create a better learning environment for the student. And so that's the bottom line that we want. And that's going to help them. That research goes on to say that when people feel that way, they feel like they have a higher quality of life. That's a huge piece to preventing burnout as well. Because if you feel like you have a good day at school, you're going to probably have a good night at home. And so that cycle begins to develop, that positive cycle, instead of having a bad day at work or at school and then going home and just reminiscing that over and over. So your evening is bad. And so it just feeds into the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we lean into around that is that strengths based leadership for teachers. Because a lot of times, you're just kind of tapped on the shoulder, say, hey, can you lead the third grade team or can you lead the world history course team? And then there's really no training after that around how to help adults. And that can lead to burnout too, especially if you're spinning your wheels. And it feels like, too, the workload is more intense than it's ever been for teachers and for principals and assistant principals. And so the conversation that I kind of lead us to is once we walk them through what their identifying talents and strengths and or working genius. We use the working genius model a lot too, and we also are very Gallup-y district. We love a Gallup strengths finder and all that too. So once we dig into all of that and we really help the teachers and leaders figure out what their strengths are and how they best approach the work, I usually have a conversation around how the workload might not be lifted any more than it already is, especially as we continue down this road of public education. But as leaders and teacher leaders, what we can do is look at what is on the plate and shift it around. And so if what's on my plate is a lot of what drains me and burns me out and frustrates me, but what's on my colleague's plate is what drains them and burns them out and all that, but what's on their plate lights me up, then let's shift some of that off their plate and put it on mine, and I'll take some of what's on my plate that I don't like but they love and put it on theirs. So we might not be able to take any more off teachers' plates, but how might we be able to shift things around off and on plates to help each other be able to work out of strengths mostly, out of what brings them joy mostly, so that people will feel more engaged and not so burnt out.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I think that's an important piece too, because it's hard to just, we talk about what's on the plate and we can't always take things away, like you said, but maybe being able to shift them. And that goes into the importance of understanding. It's so important for leaders to understand what the strengths of their staff are so that they know what, they can give them that they will actually enjoy or won't feel like more burnout or whatever. So that's an important piece as well. When you look back over your career, is there a person that really stands out that impacted or influenced you or maybe helped you realize your leadership potential?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I feel like, in one way it's like, oh, Rebecca's only ever been in Gwinnett County, but in another, and that could maybe hinder me in my life. I don't know. But in another way, it's like I have just been so blessed by so many mentors in the district along all parts of my career, whether it was Wanda Yergin, who was the first principal to hire me, or Nathan Ballantyne, who empowered me at North Gwinnett, and the principal there who empowered me and helped me kind of find my way in leadership, and was okay when I said, I guess I need to leave the school that I love so much and go on to this district office position. Or now Dr. Mosley, who's my executive director, he is the most strategic and empathetic, intelligent leader I've ever known or worked with. And he's just so empowering and open to how my brain functions, which is so different from his. Because mine's a little type B and his is very type A, but he is just so understanding, and he allowed me to just take this employee experience thing and run with it. And so at this point, he's been the most impactful in my career around that. But then so many other people like Chief Harden and so many people here at Gwinnett County who just are always so encouraging and kind, and all the principals in Gwinnett that say, yeah, sure, come on, let's try it.
Right.
They give me the chance and are open to that. So it's a hard one. So all those people.
I love that. Yeah, it does. We have so many. One of the things when I travel, even if I'm like talking to someone on the airplane, I like to ask them, who influenced you? What teacher? Almost always, I would say 99% of the time, everyone has that one teacher or multi teachers or professionals that really influence them. It's ironic that you're in Gwinnett County. We talked a little bit earlier, but I actually went to middle school in Gwinnett County.
Oh,
And
awesome.
the teacher that I always talk about that influenced me, so I would give her a shout out here, but her name was Miss Mueller, and she was the life science teacher at Duluth Middle School.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she just was such a great teacher, just so impactful, made learning so fun, had the funnest review game on earth. And so I always like to share as I travel about her impact, and that we all have the Miss Muellers in our life. And as we grow, like you said, even when we move into administration, it's so important to have those mentors that help develop us, that believe in us and help us to grow. We stand on all of those shoulders of the people that helped us get there. So I love that you are able to share that with so many of them that influenced you as well.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. This definitely, and I don't know if I can say this, but I feel like most of this is the Lord, like, making a way for this work to even be considered to be a thing in Gwinnett County or in education, or for me to be able to be even perceived as effective. So, I know it's definitely not in my strength. That's for sure.
Right. That's awesome. Well, I have just one question left for you. I've enjoyed this. I love what you're doing, the work, and definitely want to, stay in touch with you about it.
Yes.
But this is Lattes and Leaders. So my last question is usually, what is your favorite hot beverage of choice?
I love it. Okay, I was nervous about this one because I'm not necessarily a coffee drinker. I'm not a coffee drinker at all. My husband keeps trying because he thinks it's crazy. But I've been doing a lot of green tea lately. So, or any tea, but lots of green tea lately because I used to stop at a certain coffee drive-through every single day to get a cold energy beverage. But I've been trying to stop because of all the sugar. But so I've been really going hard in on this green tea situation.
Awesome. Good. And that's probably healthier anyway. Although I've heard like 1 cup of coffee is actually pretty healthy for you. But
yes.
So, well, that's
Is that
awesome.
your go-to?
Yeah, mine is chai, the chai latte. It's kind of like a herbal tea, but they make it into a latte. I don't drink them often, but when I do, that's usually my beverage of choice. Unfortunately, my beverage of choice is energy drinks, which I know are bad for you, but
no, same.
Sometimes I need that to keep going. But anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to share. I know you're busy. I love what you're doing. The work is so important and just feeds right in with my beliefs and philosophies and helping teachers be their best and creating an environment where they want to teach, because an environment where they want to teach is an environment where students are going to want to learn. So thank you so much for that and for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you so much. It was an honor. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, have a great day.
This has been Lattes and Leaders with Dr. Brad Johnson. We hope that you leave today feeling informed and inspired. For more educational content, be sure to add this podcast to your list and follow Dr. Johnson on any and all social media platforms. For more information on Dr. Johnson, Jeremy Johnson, and special guest, check out drbradjohnson.com. That is DOCTOR, bradjohnson.com. Hope to have you back soon.